My name is Julia Todd. I was born and raised here in Lexington, and I went to the University of Kentucky for undergrad. I got a degree in psychology, and then I graduated December of 2023, and I stepped on staff with UK CSF in January of 2024. So I've been there just over a year, and I love what I do. I can't imagine my life any different, so.
That's awesome. So you're on staff CSF, which is a Christian organization. So I'm assuming that you're Christian.
Yes.
When did you become Christian? What was that?
Yeah. I really haven't known a day without Jesus. I was raised by parents who love the Lord deeply, met in singles class at church, and I went to a Christian school until 6th grade, but really met Jesus early on and haven't looked back. So.
Awesome. What was that like growing up, like in a Christian house with Christian parents, and just kind of walk through that a little bit. What was like going to church like and your own involvement?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything different, and especially in elementary school where I was going to a Christian school, like that's what all the kids were doing anyway. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm living some super different life than everyone else. But my mom was on worship team some when I was a kid. My dad, and they both serve in like kids ministry. My mom's dad, my grandfather, is a pastor. So sometimes on like weekends where we'd go visit them, we'd end up in church with him. I remember going up there as a kid because their church is more traditional, and so my mom would always make us wear a dress, and I'd never have to wear a dress. My older sister and I would have to wear dresses. We never had to wear a dress at like the church we went to back at home, so I always remember like, oh, this is like the dress I wear to Grandpa's church, like, but yeah, there are very few people on either sides of my family who don't know the Lord, and I think that's just generations of faithfulness and the Lord's kindness. But like even family gatherings are like Christ-centered, and my grandpa's side of the family gets together on New Year's and everyone plays an instrument and we just play out of a hymnal for like a few hours. So yeah, that's a little bit about that.
Yeah, so sounds like music is a big part of your family then?
Yeah.
What's that kind of mean to you?
Yeah. Both sides of my family are musical. My mom's side is maybe more technically musical than my dad's side. My dad has sisters that all sing in like church choir, but my mom's side has like pretty technical musicians. Both my parents sang to each other at their wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, 45-minute long ceremony. My dad sang, my uncle sang, and apparently my mom's song to my dad was a surprise. Wow. So music is a huge part of our family. I grew up I took piano lessons from my grandma before I like even took piano lessons from a teacher, and then I took lessons from a teacher until I graduated from high school. So always did that, dabbled in a few other instruments as well, but nothing stuck like piano did. And then my siblings played instruments growing up. It just was like always a part of our family. So.
That's awesome. So how has that kind of like played a role in your faith and like as you've like walked through life as a Christian, and like what is that kind of been like?
Yeah. Music has gotten me through like really hard moments in my life. And like I remember my 5th grade year was really hard. My dad and my sister were both hospitalized for just different mental health issues, and I like still remember the song that I would play every morning when I woke up on my iPod. Because it just like got me through. Like there's just something about music that takes your eyes off what's going on in the world and focuses them on Jesus. Like the like song I remember from 5th grade was like, I will lift my eyes to the maker of the oceans raging wild. I will lift my lift my eyes to you. Like, something about saying, like, I will lift my eyes to you in the middle of what's going on was just like world shattering to fifth grade Julia. So, yeah, and has been time and time again. So,
Yeah, that's, I relate to that. Like, pretty heavily, I'm a musician as well, so it's like, it does do that. It gives you an outlet to kind of, like, almost just process and, like, think through. And it's not even like an active thinking through. It's just like it's just kind of like a release, like,
yeah.
lets it all out. What is that like? Like that was in fifth grade. What has that been like as you've like walked through like middle school and high school, and college, and now to where you're at now?
Yeah. So I switched from the private Christian school I was going to public school going into seventh grade. And it really felt like my Christianity rug was like swept up from underneath me. Like suddenly everyone I knew didn't go to church every Sunday, and just like the little things that you don't think about because you went to a Christian school, but then you go to public school and you're like, oh, what's going on here? And I had no idea about any of it. But I mean, that same like heart of worship like stayed with me throughout middle school. And then in high school is when I really realized like, oh, I can like use the gift that the Lord's given me for my church or like just the community around me. And so even like later in high school, I was a part of like a big Bible study with students from like all over the city, which was really cool just to hear about like what's going on in at your high school, in your high school, and you know, in your life. But I like would lead worship for them, and then I started leading worship for like youth group on Wednesday nights, and it was just cool. I was like, I don't think I ever as a kid was like, oh, like would look at the worship pastor and be like, oh, like I'm gonna do that. Like I never thought that as a kid, but then slowly like the Lord's just kind of asked me to use this gift for Him, and so just like haven't looked back. But yeah, I think it's slowly turned into something that like the Lord used to bring me closer to Him, and He still does. Like every time I'm on stage, I just feel like I meet the Lord every time. But like He's used it from something that I like was like passively a part of to something that I'm like actively a part of. Like I'm not just listening to someone else on Spotify. I'm like actually like worshiping myself, and you know, whatever that looks like. So yeah.
That's awesome. So currently, kind of what is your involvement like with the church, with whatever, with like how does it relate to music? What does that look like now?
Yeah. I switched churches my freshman year of college, and I started going to Arise. And I remember like my first Sunday, like Arise is a house church network. So we meet in homes 3 times a month, and then we have an all gathering once a month. And my first Sunday in someone's living room, it like, they were like, hey, does anyone like, you know, play music or anything? And I was like, I guess me. Yeah. So Arise is a network of house churches. So we have one head pastor, one eldership team, but we really are spread out across the city. And so you kind of meet in homes based on like maybe your neighborhood or the people you're connected to or that kind of thing. So I believe we have like 6 or 7 house churches within our network. They're all structured the same. Like they do a really great job of what I like to call like transferring DNA, like when house churches multiply and new house church leaders are trained, like they do a really good job of being like, this is how we set things up. And there's freedom to do what you want to do, but also like the DNA of it feels the same. So we meet in homes 3 times a month, except for those weird months where there's like 4 or 5 weekends, 5 Sundays. And then typically the first Sunday of every month, we meet all together. So all the house churches get together, and that looks way more like a quote unquote normal church service. So yeah, that's Rise.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
It's helpful.
Yes, totally.
So you were saying someone has to do it with music.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, I guess me. And then this other girl in our house church was like, well, I don't play, but like I'll sing with you. And I was like, perfect. And I would go over to her house like one night a week. This is also like my freshman year of college, mind you. So I got a not so transportable piano, and I would carry it in and out of my dorm room on my back in a case. And I still have that piano. I don't carry it like that though. And I would carry it to this lady's house because I didn't like her keyboard, and we would like practice for a few hours and like chat. And then anyway, I just would do that like every Sunday. Like every Sunday the two of us would lead, and then some night during the week I would like go over to her house and we would practice. And she taught me a lot that I didn't even know I needed to know about like what it looks like to just meet the Lord in prayer before you worship. I think especially growing up where I would take piano lessons or show up to rehearsals, like you're just used to like going in there and getting it done. And I would go to her house like ready to play, and she was like, no, like let's pray first. We would spend like 30, 45 minutes in prayer before I even touched my piano. And I just didn't know I needed that. And then eventually I ended up going to a different house church, still within Arise. And I like realized really quickly, like, whoa, I'm missing like the point here. Like worship is an overflow of your like inner prayer life. And so when I wasn't praying, suddenly I was like, where did the Spirit's movement in this go? Like I used to feel like the Spirit was leading me in all kinds of ways, and I would like get songs from him and that kind of thing. And then when I wasn't praying, I was like, wait, what happened here? And then I was like, oh, because she really led me in that, and I had to learn how to do that for myself. But yeah, so that's what my involvement at church looks like. And now I still lead on Sundays, and then I usually help lead for like our all gathering services too. But I also help lead here at CSF. I do. Thursday nights are called Synergy, and I kind of like co-lead our worship team right now, and I love it. It's so much fun. There is no other room like a room of college students worshiping, and it's the best.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
It's great.
you're up there too, so you get it.
The energy is
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's great. So, like as you've like kind of gone through your faith, like you're what, 22 now?
23 in 2 weeks.
All right, there we go. Like as you've gone through your faith, like obviously mentioned that time in 5th grade, what's it been like? Maybe separate from the music, maybe with the music, whatever, whatever's applicable. But like, what has been some like ups and downs? Like, how have you like navigated through your faith? Because
Yeah.
it's not all like sunshine and rainbows. Like,
Not even
what's that
close.
like?
Yeah. Little did I know, like 5th grade started just a really long mental health journey with my whole family. And I always say that's why my mom and I are so close. Like we just really leaned on each other when my dad was struggling or my sister was struggling or my brother was too young to really remember anything. But and like she would tell you the same thing, and we're in a better place now, but like really grew to resent my older sister. We're 19 months apart, and I feel way more like the oldest kid, and she feels way more like the rebellious middle child, but she is birth order the oldest, and I am birth order the middle. And so growing up, it was just this power struggle between the two of us, and she would do things she shouldn't have been doing, and I would tell her, hey, you shouldn't do that, and she was like, but I'm your older sister and you sound like my mom. And I just didn't even know what to do. It got so bad, we would like physically fight pretty often, and my parents would have to break us up, or if they weren't there, I was just done for, because she's 5'10" and I'm 5'4", so it was game over before it even started. But honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, because if you had told me now that my sister and I would be as close as we were, I would have told you were crazy. But I want to say, so things continued until my junior or senior year of high school. She moved out, and I just had like nothing to do with her. And then my freshman year of college, when I moved into the dorm, she moved back to my parents' house. And I really would just like stay home as much as possible. Actually, the night I moved into the dorm, my mom called me and was like, hey, we need you to come home. Like, Anna needs to go to the hospital. She's like physically assaulting us. And I was like, this was my like moment of freedom, of like, I've finally moved out, I'm finally at college, and I just feel like I got sucked back into everything I just gone through the last 7 years, and I just really resented her for it. My whole first semester freshman year, I just was, so angry at her. And I remember like writing in my journal multiple times, like, Lord, I don't even want to call her my sister. Like, she means so little to me, and I'm so angry at her. And then, moving into college was 2020. So I also was at college in the middle of a pandemic, and we had 2 months of Christmas break. They let us go before Thanksgiving. We didn't go back until the end of January. So I moved home because they closed the dorms around Thanksgiving, and things were horrible. We were both living under the same roof for like the first time in 2 years, and I mean, every conversation I had was how much I hated her, and it got to the point where my mom literally told me, like, Julia, you can't talk about my other daughter this way. Like, the things you're saying about her are hurting me. And so I ended up getting in like telehealth counseling, my classic COVID moment, but that like 2020 Christmas break. And I remember my counselor looking at me through my video camera, and she was like, Julia, like, if your sister never tells you you're sorry, like, what are you gonna do? Because I had this expectation of her that she was gonna tell me that she was sorry for all the things that she'd done to me. And I just like looked, I didn't even know what to say. It was like one of those questions where they ask you and you're like, I have no words. I got you moment. And she spoke again first, and she was like, I just watched the pain flash on your face. Like, you want her to say sorry for the things that she's gonna say to you, and that's not how forgiveness works. Like, forgiveness is letting the Lord soften the hard places in your heart towards another person. It's not a playground conversation where someone says, I'm sorry, and the other person says, I forgive you. And I just was like, I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know what to say. But I came back to school in the spring semester, and I was like, well, Lord, I guess you got some work to do. Because if she's never going to say sorry for the things that she's done to me, then I can't keep going on like this. Like, I can't keep being this angry. I'm not an angry person. And so, like, you've got work to do. I just would, like, pray on my face in my dorm room for months, and I interned at CSF that semester too. So on top of it all, I just was like surrounded by a really great community, and met some of my favorite people and that kind of thing. And the Lord slowly but surely just softened my heart. And that next year, she would like just call me randomly and just like want to talk. And I remember being like, that's really weird. Yeah, my sister would. And like we hadn't even really spoken. Like we would maybe go to like a family dinner every once in a while, or like, random family events, but like we hadn't even really spoken. But she would just like call me up and ask me how I was, or she'd be like, hey, I'm in your neighborhood, like I can stop by. And I was like, okay, like, and like really slowly, like our relationship just was rebuilt. And she also doesn't have a relationship with the Lord, and so now to even like to know that our relationship is restored, but to also pray for her relationship with the Lord, and to know that like I get to be, if anything, like a small piece in hopefully her someday coming back to knowing Jesus, is huge. Like I can't do that if I have no relationship with her. And so for even our relationship to be restored, and her just like, I just feel like the Lord's moving, and I just don't know what it is yet, but it's just been encouraging. So yeah, that's a little bit of the not so sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, what's been, that's an incredible story. Just kind of like hearing how, like I kind of relate to that, like me and my brother, we fought growing up, or normal brother stuff, I guess, but it's like, I think there's almost an aspect too of like, oh, we're getting older, we're maturing, we're understanding how to process emotions.
Totally.
Manage ourselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely that aspect that you got going for you as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like age and time.
Yeah. Yeah, something about the frontal lobe developing, or I don't really know.
Yeah, I just turned 25 and I don't know if I that yet, but
Well, actually, it doesn't fully develop in males until they're 30, so you have 5 more years.
There we go. Yeah, 5 more years, I guess.
Tough. Confusion.
So, sweet, yeah. So, if you had a moment, if you had a conversation with someone who is maybe going through something similar to what you've like gone through, right? Like with the situation with your sister, and maybe 5th grade you, like now that you're like kind of like you're on the other side, working towards being on the other side, sort of thing. Like, what would you say to them? Like, how would you? What advice would you give them?
Can I actually share a story I'm still in the middle of?
Yes.
And then tell them what I am telling myself?
Yeah, that's
cool.
Right.
So my spring semester junior year, I got to go to Israel with CSF for spring break, and I mean, one of the most amazing experiences. We also went like 6 months before the war started, so things were peaceful. I was safe, I promise. But it was really amazing. I made the decision to apply to staff at CSF on that trip, and like just getting to walk where Jesus walked, there's just really nothing greater. Yes, so much history. It was like drinking out of a fire hose all week of just like suddenly you're like at like the place where Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount. They give you like 5 minutes to spend with the Lord, and then it's like back on the bus and time to go to the next place, and you're like, wait, I'm not done here. Anyway, I went to Israel, and my parents picked me up from the airport, and my mom was driving my dad's car, and I was like, but my dad was in the passenger seat, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, my dad like Uber drives for fun, like he loves to drive. And so I just kind of found that weird, and they were picking up me and a couple of my friends who went on the trip. And so we were putting our bags in the back, and I remember my mom like whispering in my ear, like, hey, your dad doesn't feel good. And I was like, okay, like he struggled with his mental health for so long, so like doesn't feel good could mean he has the flu, doesn't feel good could mean he's depressed. Like that gave me nothing. And he said like maybe 2 words the drive home from like Cincinnati to Lexington. It's like an hour and a half. And again, I was like, that's weird. My dad's pretty talkative, and also I had like friends in the car, you know. It's like kind of weird for your dad not to talk to maybe your friends even. But we got home and they dropped me back off at my house. I was unpacking and whatnot. My mom texted me and was like, hey, we're taking your dad to the ER. He's still not feeling well. And I was like, okay, well, keep me posted. I don't know, you know. I had no idea what was going on. And so I got a text later that night saying that they were like running a CT scan, and but at that point I was like, the hospital's 2 minutes away. Like I was on my way there, my siblings were on their way there, and we all like pile in his tiny little ER room, and they were like, well, they found out he has appendicitis. So they did like a CT scan. His appendix was huge, or however that works. And so they were like, you know, we're going to remove this tomorrow. But they found tumors on both of his kidneys. And they were like, obviously we don't know that it's cancerous, but like tumors this size on both sides, like probably cancerous. And so it's one of those moments where you're like, I know I should have some sort of reaction, but it doesn't even feel real. And so they ran tests, and of course, like had, he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. But the crazy thing about it is kidney cancer doesn't spread from kidney to kidney. So it's two primary cancerous spots, which was just wild. One of them was a little bit more progressive than the other one. And I was just like, he's been fine. Like, really, like, health-wise, like, not worried about anything. And, like, my whole world was just upside down. And that May, he got one of his kidneys removed. And then in the fall of 2023, they decided to try like immunotherapy. It's like kind of like chemotherapy, but a little bit different. And I went with him. No, he had his first treatment, was totally fine, and was like super active. Meanwhile, he feels like through his cancer journey, the Lord has healed his mental health. Like, he hasn't had any sort of depressive episode, has been the most mentally stable I've seen him in my whole life. And so that fall, he's like doing really well. He's like, I'm free of the thing that was ailing me for so many years. So he's playing tennis all the time and doing all the things he loves to do. So I go with him to his second treatment a couple weeks later in August. It was like my first week of school of my last semester of college. And he starts treatment, and he was just like weirdly fidgety, and I was just kind of like, he just like looked uncomfortable. And I was like, we're in this tiny, they call them like chair rooms, like basically this oversized recliner takes up 90% of the room, and then there's like the IV he's hooked into and a tiny little chair over here, which is where I'm sitting. And he just like looked uncomfortable. He was like, I'm gonna take my shoes off. And I was like, well, okay. He like leans back in the recliner. And then a couple minutes later, he like sits back up and has basically like a seizure-like reaction, just goes unconscious. Yeah, I just like ran out of the chair room screaming for help, but also was crying. And I mean, it was just a really surreal moment. And they rushed him down to the ER. I'm the only one with him. My mom is working. And they rushed him down to the ER, and he just continues to, like, he came back into consciousness, but was still like had like full body shakes, just like the weirdest reaction I've ever seen. And I remember he's like shaking so badly, I'm like trying to hold him still. And the doctor comes in, and she's just like standing like this, just like looking at him. And I look at her, and I was like, can we do something? Like, I'm literally holding him still. He's in so much pain and has no idea what's happening to him also, because the first time he had this done, he was totally fine. And she was like, I'm working on it. And I was like, what? Where's the urgency here? There's obviously something wrong. Anyway, that was the beginning of him being in the hospital for like on and off the next 3 or 4 weeks, and just spent nights in the hospital, was admitted multiple times, ended up with like, I don't even know, they like diagnosed him, but nothing was really, things just weren't right. And not like, also this was supposed to treat the cancer in his other kidney, but if you can't even take the treatment, like what are you supposed to do? And there were so many, like my senior semester, like I have this all going on with my family. I'm also writing an undergraduate thesis and just like trying to be a student and live a life. Like, I just remember, like I would literally take my backpack to the hospital and go sit with him in a hospital room and like try to write a little bit on my thesis. But like the nurses would come in and out and I would never get anything done. Anyway, I would leave the hospital just every time in tears. And the drive from my house to the hospital is not that long, but I just would like, yeah, I just would cry out. It was the same 5th grade moment, but a different diagnosis. And like the song that got me through that moment was the song by Brooke Ligertwood that says like, I will exalt you. And again, there's just something about saying like, I will exalt you in the middle of my pain and in the middle of this confusion, in the middle of wondering where the Lord is, because I don't see him in this hospital room where my dad is unwell. Like, I will exalt you because he's the God of the universe and he knows what he's doing. And there is an element of trusting him that we just don't understand as humans. Anyway, in December of that year, he obviously can't take the treatment, and so they decided to remove his other kidney. But your kidneys filter every liquid that goes in your body. So all of the water you drink, you know, a smoothie, like anything that goes in is filtered by your kidneys, and then obviously you expel it out. So he has no kidneys, so he's not expelling anything out. So he's immediately put on dialysis and like starts it at a treatment center. He's actually like, the treatment center he started it at teaches you how to do it yourself, and they set you up with like a whole home system. And so my sister's old bedroom is my dad's dialysis room. You know, sometimes your parents turn your bedroom into like a home gym or an office. My sister's bedroom is the dialysis room, which is just funny. We laugh about it now because it's been over a year, but in the moment it was not funny. But yeah, he does dialysis 5 days a week, and all of last year was just learning how to do it. And it's like, I mean, my mom's like, I'm basically a nurse now. Like, you really do get almost like a medical training with the facility that he went through, but also just like random things that come up and all of that kind of stuff. And so all last year was mostly calm outside of just like, my mom calls it his part-time job of staying alive. And then they told him he had to be a year cancer-free to be on the transplant list. And so all leading up to that, of course, blood relatives are your best option for a transplant. And so he just asked me and my siblings, like, would you just like even consider, you know, like being on the transplant list? And my brother is in the middle of trying to be a, you know, major league pitcher, and not really, he's playing D3 college athletics, but and whatever. And so I had like gone through the process, and so December of 2024 was him being a year cancer-free. And I'd gone through the process, I'd applied, and I had an appointment with the transplant team to like go and see if I was even a match. I remember they like called me and they were like, so this is all the things we're gonna do. Like you'll be here from like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. getting like tests run. And I was like, okay. Anyway, and then, so I had an appointment scheduled for January, like late January, and we found out early January that his cancer had come back. And I didn't even think about that even being a possibility because I thought they'd removed it all, but for whatever reason, cells just spread and started growing, and so getting another cancer diagnosis puts you off the transplant list, and it just felt like my whole family was back to square one. Like it was like the same day he even got diagnosed. And just heartbreaking, like to even think that like finally we were moving forward and things were getting better and we're right back to where we started. I just like didn't even know what to do. And so now they like switched cancer treatments. He's on like a chemo pill. So he like takes a pill every day just to treat it like systematically. So if there's any other cells in his body, it should like kill them instead of radiation would just kill the like one tumor. And he's responded well to it for the most part, has like some random symptoms. It's like turning his hair gray. So his like beard and like the roots of his hair are like mostly gray, even though he's like has pretty dark hair. And then just like other random things, but has done well. But still like, there's just moments where it's like, Lord, where are you? Like, you think things are getting better and the Lord's healing him, and then it's like right back to square one. And yet I sing that song over and over again of, I will exalt you. Like, there is no other name greater than yours, and so I will exalt you, even when I don't feel it, even when I'm actually angry at you. But I love you and I trust you, and so I will exalt you. So that's what I would say to anyone struggling is, even if you feel like your emotions aren't there yet, what you proclaim with your mouth has power. And so you may be so angry at God for what's going on in your life, but the act of reminding yourself who he is and what he's already done, like the Lord's faithfulness, even if you don't feel like he's faithful to you, like he's faithful in the Bible, he's faithful to your community, like the Lord's faithfulness just will rise up, and he will continue to be faithful. And so that's what I would say. I also would just say, take it one day at a time. I'm really futuristic, and I think forward all the time, but I can't think forward here. I don't, like, you know, what am I gonna think? Oh, he's gonna get cancer. Like, I don't want to spiral or think thoughts that aren't productive. And so just take it a day at a time. I know today my dad's alive, and I know today that he is more my dad than he's been in all of my like childhood years. And I just thank the Lord for it. And I pray for his healing. I ask the Lord for it. But we recognize that like healing is mysterious. Like it is Lord's will to heal. But we have no idea if it's on this side of heaven or not. So yeah, that's what I would say. A really long story and what I would say.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was in Matthew 6 actually today. I'll just share, just to close, Matthew 6:34. It says, just therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself.
Yep.
Each day is enough trouble. Just on that note that you brought up. Thanks, Julia. Appreciate you sharing your story, kind of talking through the ups and downs, how music's played a role just in your life. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.